When I think about Minnesota African United, I think
just that platform where like it kind of brings everyone together.
A conduit, for professionals to
learn, educate, and discuss problems and possibly solution for all Africans to improve the life of Africans in Minnesota.
To me, is that umbrella organization where I believe every African diaspora in Minnesota should belong to.
Minnesota African United seeks to build a bridge between African in the diaspora and African living on the continent to create a marketplace where goods and services can be traded globally.
There are all kinds of professional development opportunities. African immigrants in the state of Minnesota are provided opportunity to be, players, in the economic activities of the state.
If you have the commitment to empower your community, then this is a place for you.
In thriving for the welfare of all Africans within Minnesota, MAU has established 10 working committees with people that are passionate and working around the clock on all issues pertaining to Africa. If your subject of interest is not listed, join us so we can create a committee around your interest.
People like me and you trying to see how we can help and grow ourselves. Remember, if you're not at the table, you're in the menu.
We can decolonize our mind, or at least get that opportunity to see one another not just as West African or East African or Southern Africa, but as African together, trying to solve problem with African solution.
Like the African proverb goes, like you go farther together in order to empower like the whole community to basically rise up.
We believe in the nations of Africa, in the continent-wide spirit of entrepreneurship and innovation.
The African continent is home to many of the fastest-growing economies in the world, with a rapidly expanding middle class, a young, diverse workforce, urbanizing populations, and endless opportunities.
One of the most important elements of it to me is to shift the narrative in the way that the West engages with Africa writ large. For far too long, it has been seen as a region filled with problems and few opportunities. And I think that we should be shifting that to look at it as a region that does have challenges, but is also filled with opportunities.
Prosper Africa brings together the power of 17 U.S. government agencies and market experts to identify investments, secure deals, and create new trade pathways between the nations of Africa and the United States.
I'm a huge fan of Prosper Africa. I've seen what it can do and how it can help companies like Cisco and how engaged the people on the ground are. They also bring a very clear and objective view of what their role is going to be, what their expectations from Cisco are.
We're a one-stop shop, so companies don't have to waste valuable resources navigating Washington to do business in the United States and across the African continent.
Working with Prosper Africa is so easy because there's a deal room and we're able to present a pitch, and Prosper Africa basically stands as an intermediary between us and investors and businesses that could be interested and help bridge the gap. So it actually ends up being easier for us than to spend the effort chasing individual investors sort of across the US.
Through Prosper Africa, the US government has helped close hundreds of deals, generating billions in new exports and investments. And the prospects for future growth and continued shared prosperity are as large and as vibrant as the continent itself.
I used Prosper Africa's support to identify the appropriate funders for our organization.
Prosper Africa can give us that introduction. They can give us the credibility. They can help us validate us as being good actors. And that's the important thing.
Being able to use this Prosper Africa platform allows us to reach the right investors, that allows us to grow and scale our business to the rest of the emerging markets.
Working hand in hand with the private sector and African governments, Prosper Africa strengthens two-way trade and investment, supporting thousands of jobs for African and American workers.
We must all work together to advance our shared vision of a better future, a future of growing trade and investment that advances prosperity for all our nations.
Prepare yourself for an epic adventure through a land inhabited by peoples who cling tightly to ancient traditions, while their fellow countrymen freely embrace the marvels of modern life. It's a place that lays claim to being the cradle of all mankind, and boasts of fabled spice islands of rare beauty that reveal both a dark past and a shining example of how people of differing traditions can live together in peace and friendship. And on this trip, you'll sleep under the ocean, soar over the loftiest peak on this vast continent, float just above the reach of magnificent beasts, and descend deep underground in search of rare, precious gemstones found nowhere else on Earth. And our guide...
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for attending our webinar this morning. My name is Basil Ajuo, and I'm the President and Chief Executive Officer of Minnesota Africans United. Minnesota Africans United is a coalition and statewide organization that has brought together Minnesota's diverse African diaspora community, representative of 55 African countries. Our goal is to change the economic landscape of the state of Minnesota and Africa through collaboration and partnerships. We were founded in 2017, and we have been growing ever since, every year. We represent over 390,000 African immigrants who are living here in the state of Minnesota. Today, Minnesota Africans United is excited to host our fourth of 6 webinars of 2022, with the first being focused on Malawi, the second on Cameroon, the third on Ghana, and the fourth today focused on new opportunities of trade and investment in Tanzania. Our goal today is to address the needs and concerns of both African diasporas and US businesses interested in doing international business in Tanzania that will create jobs for African diaspora in both Tanzania and the United States. Following this webinar, MAU will be facilitating and leading a trade mission to Tanzania to build business partnerships and joint ventures. Our trade mission for Tanzania is scheduled for October 2022. In addition, in July of this year, just a month away from now, we will be leading our trade mission to Ghana and then to Cameroon. Today, we are excited to have our keynote speakers, Her Excellency Honorable Ambassador Liberata Mulamula, Minister of Foreign Affairs and East African Cooperation in Tanzania, who will share opportunities of businesses in Tanzania, and Her Excellency Dr. Ashatu Kijaji, Minister of Investment, Trade and Industry for the United Republic of Tanzania, who is our guest of honor. We are also honored to partner and hear from Dr. Barbara McDonald, President of the College of St. Scholastica, who will present on her work about how the College of St. Scholastica has been trading with Tanzania through education and across Africa. We will also hear from Kenneth, Walsh, Senior Commissioner Officer, U.S. Embassy, Salaam, Tanzania, Bergh, who has led successful business with Tanzania in a way that promotes trade and investment between Africa and the United States. MAU realizes that the best way to build ties with African countries is to involve immigrants from those African countries in what we do in our state. And you may wonder how and why we are hosting this trade and investment webinar on Tanzania today. Through the University of Minnesota Herbert Humphrey Scholarship Program, we came to know Christina, who was a fellow at that university. Christina is originally from the country of Tanzania, and she was introduced to Minnesota Africans United by the president of Global Minnesota, Mr. Ritchie, as a possible resource for her when she came to Minnesota in August of last year. Since then, Christina has played a meaningful role with Minnesota Africans United by bringing her experiences from Africa to Minnesota. And through her stay and volunteering with MAU, she has also shown her African immigrants in Minnesota what it means to be a global citizen. She was able to put together this webinar today and contributed tremendously in helping to secure speakers from the continent, from the Republic of Tanzania. And she has also continued to build relationships and momentum for Minnesota to be able to successfully bid to host the 2027 World's Fair Expo. We look forward to continue our work with Christina in several capacities when she returns back to Tanzania. I wanted to use this opportunity to really thank you, Christina, for all the tremendous work that you have done for the state of Minnesota, for Africa, and for your home country, and representing African diaspora in a meaningful way. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Ritchie, President of Global Minnesota, who will kick off this webinar today and introduce our keynote speaker. Over to you, Ritchie.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Basil. And I want to echo your great gratitude to Christina, who changed our lives. And perhaps we've changed her life in some particular way, but we are really looking forward to the next decades when we will continue to build those relationships to Africa, to Tanzania, to the whole planet. But we do that by connecting each other to our lives and to our hopes and to our dreams. And Christina is a brilliant global citizen in all of those respects. Today's event is co-sponsored. This is a Minnesota Africans United led event. There are a number of us who get the opportunity and the privilege to help and assist and to be part of the process. And I work for Global Minnesota. So it's my duty and my obligation and my great honor to bring to you our opening presenter, someone who's very dear to us in Minnesota because we know of her work and we followed. Her Excellency, Liberata Mulamula, is Minister of Foreign Affairs and East African Cooperation, and a good friend of the world, a good friend of her people, but also a very special person in the lives of those of us here in Minnesota. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, and I turn the microphone over to you.
Thank you, Mark Rich, for that gracious introduction. You know, in our practice, we always recognize our elders, our VIPs, our friends. The presence of my colleague, Honorable Dr. Ashatu Kijaji, the Minister for Investment, Trade and Industries, the United Republic of Tanzania. I also want to recognize the leadership of the Minnesota Africa United. We have heard Ajuo, thank you. I see also Kenneth Walsh. I see Dr. Barbara McDonald. I see one of our very own, Christina Luhinda and Bergh, and many others. In Tanzania, or in Dar es Salaam, it is evening, but for the Minnesotans, let me say good morning. I greet you in the name of the United Republic of Tanzania. I'm very happy to join you today for this important meeting or webinar. And investment opportunities in Tanzania, how exciting. It's so good to see many familiar faces, as I said, and because not so long ago, during my tour of duty in Washington, D.C. as a Tanzania ambassador. I visited Minnesota a couple of times at the invitation of our Tanzania diaspora, but also our many good friends in Minnesota. So I really feel like I am back home in Minnesota, though virtual, but I feel the warmth of our friends in Minnesota. So my role, let me say, again, I want to thank the organizers for inviting us, and also, of course, Christina, who really kept on nagging me, said ambassador, and we had, because of my very hectic schedule, sorry that you had to keep on postponing this event to accommodate our schedules. So I really want to thank you. I thank the Minnesota Africa United for putting this together. I'm also pleased that the US government is working closely with the Tanzania government to ensure realization of their socio-economic development and business for our mutual benefit. We have seen how we have been working closely together in different sectors, which are also our priorities of our government, including the sector of health, education, infrastructure, human resources, and capacity building, just to mention a few. Let me also say that Tanzania and the United States enjoy excellent bilateral relations since we established diplomatic relations in 1961. We were celebrating the 60 years of our excellent relations. Our two governments see eye to eye in many areas and work closely to ensure realization of socio-economic development. This is evident by the recent visit of our Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan, the President of the United Republic of Tanzania, who visited recently the United States and had the opportunity to meet with the US Vice President, Her Excellency Kamala Harris, at the White House in the Vice President's office building. So the two of them, I'm sure you all were able to follow, seeing them walking side by side in the corridors of the White House was not only unprecedented, but also a sign of their commitment as female leaders to nurture our bilateral relations to the next level. And during the same visit, Her Excellency President Samia also launched the Royal Tour film that premiered in New York and Los Angeles, which is aimed at promoting investment opportunities and tourism attractions in Tanzania. The film, which I commend highly that you watch if you have not watched, really, I say it is very transformative to see how Tanzania has a lot to offer. And this is why I was also excited that this event or today's meeting is organized at a very opportune time when we are still all very excited of the things we can do together in terms of trade and businesses and investments. So this forum, I see this forum as complementing government efforts and underscores the commitment of our two governments, but our people to improve and strengthen our relations. Our interactions today are also meant to cement our people-to-people relations, as I mentioned. And currently, we see there is a growing number of Tanzania communities in the Midwest, especially in Minnesota, and they are part of a more significant diaspora, essential for Tanzania's implementation of our foreign policy. I wish to extend our sincere gratitude to, as I said, our very own Kjell Bergh, our former Honorary Consul of Tanzania, who worked tirelessly to cultivate people-to-people relations in terms of trade, business, and even tourism. These efforts truly complement government-to-government relations. Let me also commend the Tanzania diaspora and African diaspora living in Minnesota. Tanzania values ties with Minnesota and values the strength that you have added to our relations, specifically in the areas of trade. Proud of the work you are doing. Clearly not and greatly appreciated. I believe this forum today will mark another milestone of your contribution. I have, as I said, I have with me, and I have now the great pleasure of introducing my colleague, my sister, Honorable Dr. Ashatu Kijaji, the Tanzania Minister for Investment, Trade and Industry, who will even share with you about the opportunities in terms of investment, trade and industries in Tanzania. So, Honorable Dr. Ashatu Kijaji, I'd like to, I don't know that I'm supposed to invite you, or we go back to Mark Ritchie to invite you, but I thought I should use the opportunity to welcome, to introduce her. But I'm here by...
Please do invite her. Yes.
Okay. So I have the honor and pleasure to invite my colleague and sister, Honorable Dr. Ashatu Kijaji, please to address this distinguished audience. We are among friends. Karibu, Mheshimiwa. Asante sana. I thank you all for your kind attention and long live our friendship between Tanzania and Minnesota, and our relations between Tanzania and the United States. Karibu sana, Honorable Kijaji.
Asante sana. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, Honorable Ambassador Liberata Mulamula, the Minister of Foreign Affairs in the United Republic of Tanzania. I think it will be good if I could recognize those colleagues who are present with us this morning and this evening here in Tanzania. And I start with Kenneth Walsh, Senior Commercial Officer in the United States Embassy here in Tanzania. Mr. Basil Ajuo, CEO, Minnesota Africans United. Mr. Mike Ritchie, President Global Minnesota. Dr. Barbara McDonald, President of the College Scholastica. Distinguished guests, members of the press, all protocols are observed. I feel greatly honored and privileged to have this opportunity to participate in this important discussion on trade and investment opportunities in Tanzania. I would like to convey our sincere gratitude to Minnesota Africans United, Prosper Africa, Global Minnesota, Minnesota District Export Council, United States of America Department of Commerce and Global Diversity Export Initiatives for organizing this important meeting. This is one of the crucial forums as it affords us with the opportunity to deliberate on how to elevate business and investment relations between Tanzania and the United States, and today particularly the Minnesota community, an agenda very important given the low trade volumes between our two countries. It is disheartening that despite more than 6 decades of relations, records show that trade volume between Tanzania and the United States of America stood at 379 to 72.556 million United States dollar, which is very low compared to what we have with other countries, and despite the United States being the world's largest economy. Ladies and gentlemen, it is undeniably that the private sector is the driving engine of the economy. This is at the heart of Tanzania to ensure there is a conducive business environment in the country. The government has done major legal, institutional, and physical reforms and reforms in the public sector to ensure easiness in starting and doing business in the country. At the same time, the government is working very closely with the private sector to formulate policies that protect and facilitate private sector growth. Some of the initiatives include implementation of a blueprint action plan for regulatory reform to improve the business environment, fast-tracking attainment of a semi-industrialized country through rehabilitation of Central Railway line to standard gauge railway and construction of Julius Nyerere hydropower project to ensure adequate power supply all the time. I'm pleased to note that our efforts are continuing to yield positive results. For instance, in the year 2021, our investment center registered around 256 new projects, which are expected to generate 53,000 jobs and 3.749 United States billion as a capital. Ladies and gentlemen, Tanzania provides attractive package for investors, including physical and non-physical incentives and the strategic investor status. The physical incentives include 0% of import duty on project capital goods, 10% import duty for semi-processed or semi-finished goods, but 100% capital expenditure to mining and agricultural sectors, tax relief on deemed capital goods, whereby import duty is 75%, as well as VAT deferment granted on project capital goods, such as plants and machinery, reduced the corporate tax to 20% for 5 consecutive years on manufacturing pharmaceuticals, textile and leather products, as well as 10% on automotive industry. The non-physical incentives include the availability of one-stop facilitation center, of which provides various services related to permits, licenses, and approvals. When you reach us on the site, we will give you more. Today, I'm just mentioning just a few of what we have in both physical and non-physical incentives for investors and business community who are intending to work with us. I would like to assure you that given the vast investment opportunities in Tanzania, Government of the United Republic of Tanzania is ready to support industrial-based investments towards the realization of a semi-industrialized country by 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, our country is also endowed with a variety of natural resources, including a 1,424-kilometer coastline, large arable land, the class tourist attractions, minerals, and oil and gas. Arable land, conducive weather, and ground and surface water provide opportunities in agro-processing, livestock, leather production, and agro production. We have also valuable land, which is rich in minerals, such as gemstones, and industrial minerals, such as nickel, silver, iron ore, soda ash, coal, clay soil, gold, diamond, and tanzanite, the mineral that are found only in Tanzania in the whole world. Most of these resources have been exported in their raw form without being processed, thus denying our country the opportunities to creating jobs for our youths and women. We therefore invite investors to invest in projects that involve value addition and beneficiation of mining products as appropriate. This includes processing of precious metals and gemstones, production of iron ore and steel, processing of nickel, and extraction of many more minerals that we have on our land. The business climate that I have just described has already attracted a growing number of foreign local investors from different countries to Tanzania. We look forward to increased investments because, as I mentioned, the opportunities are many. The returns are good, protection is guaranteed, and incentives are competitive. While commending the good trade and investment relations existing between our two countries, I welcome more investors from the United States of America, in particular from Minnesota, to explore the unlimited trade, investment, and business opportunities which our countries has to offer. American investors and business companies are encouraged to come and invest in various sectors, including energy, particularly the renewable one, agriculture, blue economy, infrastructure, mining, healthy, tourism, and manufacturing. Ladies and gentlemen, being more specific to these investment opportunities that Minnesota business community can come and invest with us, let me just talk a bit of these few sectors that I have already mentioned to you. And the first one is in agriculture and agro-processing. Agriculture here in Tanzania is the mainstay of our economy, and it is #1 priority in our third 5-year development plan. The opportunities that we have and that we can offer to the world for investors and business communities include investment in the production of oil seeds to edible oils. I think all of us knows what is happening in the world today. And even within our country, ourselves, we are yet to satisfy the demand. For instance, we have the demand of 570,000 tons. That's the demand we have for the edible oils, but what we produce is only 180,000 tons. And such, we have a gap of almost 390,000 tons. So even within the domestic market, there is a need and there is an opportunity for investors and business community. Again, investment in production of sugar, in the whole value chain of sugar towards sugarcane towards having industries in production of sugar. And within our domestic market, we have a demand of almost 655,000 tons. But what we are capable of supplying is only 370,000 tons only. In such, we have a gap in the production of sugar, almost of 285,000 tons. But also, we have 100% gap on industrial sugar, and that our need is almost 165 tons per year. In such a case, we have a set aside, and we have a land bank that we have set aside for the production of the two commodities that I have mentioned to you. So we welcome investors and business community to come and invest with us so that we can trade within and outside our country. The second area is investment in production of cotton to textile. We understand here in country we have only the seed cotton only is 194 and 572,000. And we have almost the average of 80% of produced cotton are also exported in raw form. So we're also attracting investors to come and invest so that we can process our cotton towards having textile within our country so that we can add value to our raw products and create employment opportunities for our people. Other investment areas in the area of agriculture include the production of wheat, and all of us know what is happening in the world. So in Tanzania, we offer a very good land that we can produce wheat, we can produce cashew nut, we can produce avocado, we can produce tea, sisal, coffee, rice, grapes, forestry, and cloves. And the second area that I would like to talk and that we're ready to welcome you so that you can invest and trade with us is in the area of livestock and leather industry. As we all know, Tanzania is the second largest livestock population in Africa. This is the data of the year 2021. And again, we have the potential for almost 4 million hides and 6.1 million skins annually. So we welcome investors who can invest with us and trade with the world through us. We have opportunities in meat processing, but also milk processing, animal feed production, animal byproducts, leather, and also bones and hides. We offer such a great opportunity for the world. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, we also, as we have heard, we had this royal tour that our President, Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan, has done an excellent job in it. So we have the tourism and leisure industry in Tanzania. And we welcome you to come and work with us in this area, particularly in building tourist hotels, beach tourism, cultural and historical sites. We offer all those opportunities and we are yet to develop them. Again, we can develop conference tourism facilities, can develop trophy hunting and photographic. We can work together in developing such an area. Ladies and gentlemen, before I conclude, and in view of the foregoing, allow me to allude you that the United Republic of Tanzania is a union of Tanzania mainland and Zanzibar with a total market size of about 60 million people. So we have a huge market for what we will produce within domestically. But also, we are not alone. We're working with others. Tanzania is a member of East Africa Community that has a market size of not less than 177 million people. Tanzania is also a member of the Southern Africa Development Community, which implements a protocol on trade, hosts a total of 16 member states with a market size of 300 million people. What does it mean? It means that investing in Tanzania, development community duty-free and quota-free. But also currently, Tanzania National Assembly has ratified the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. As such, in the Africa Continental Free Trade Area entails a free trade area amongst the 55 African countries, another opportunity for our investors and business community that we are inviting to work with us. Through the African Free Continental Free Trade Area, I encourage Minnesota and in general American investors to come and invest in our country and enjoy a duty-free and a quota-free to the grand market of not less than 1.5 billion people in our precious continent. With these few remarks, ladies and gentlemen, let me reiterate our President's commitment and readiness to continue attracting and facilitating trade and investment for mutual gains. As we have seen, she's working closely with the private sector, talking with investors and encouraging them to come to work in Tanzania. Last but not least, I wish to welcome you all to our beautiful country, the land of Kilimanjaro, Serengeti, and Zanzibar. Karibu sana. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And what a big picture of opportunity. And I'm so grateful that you have that larger vision of that East African community, but now the African-wide zone and area. So these are two important things for everyone on the planet, but especially our colleagues here in Minnesota. So I'd like to ask both of you to join me on the screen here for a brief discussion. Can you, there we go. One thing that you mentioned that caught my attention right away was the question of sugar. And it's not just because I'm a very big consumer of ice cream and other things, but Minnesota, our state out here in the middle of the nation, is the #1 producer of sugar beets in the country, in the United States. Of course, we have cane sugar in our islands in Hawaii and in the southern regions, but that industry is also one that's been very, very well developed because it has so many cooperatives and trade unions that are partners in developing the technology. The cooperatives, of course, are the farmer producers. And so Is there, in your experience, do you have some ideas of ways that we might explore more deeply direct connections in that sector? Technology, things that you're learning there in your research in your universities. What are we learning in ours? That sort of thing. Any ideas from your side?
Thank you so much, Mark, for the question. You have mentioned a very important point. That's the issue on technology. We understand here in Tanzania, we have one university that's dealing with agriculture, that's Sokoine University for Agriculture. They're just working in exploring on how we can create value through the whole value chain from the producing the sugar cane towards the sugar. But also we have several I can say they are the institutions within my ministry that we have, that they are dealing with exploring on technology. How can we become more efficiently in technology towards producing the sugar at a low cost so that we can increase efficiency on the whole value chain? I understand, as you have said, other colleagues, even in our area, they are far ahead in producing sugar in our area, but also, as you have noticed over Minnesota, you are good enough. So we, as Tanzanians, we are ready to learn from the colleagues around us, but also learning from both of us from Minnesota and around the world, so that being the last comers in this industry, that we want to invest more in production of sugar, we can have the advanced technology towards the production of sugar in our country.
Great. I know that some of our companies partner with farmers, producers in Tanzania on things like pyrethrum flowers, chrysanthema, and things that become part of a global supply chain. Are there ways that you track information and you see trends, and that we could all say, oh, there's a trend line. People are buying more organic food. Therefore, the producers need more organic supplies for their supply chain. It seems like you're on the leading edge of producing many of the things that people want and need around the world, and you're seeing trends, you're seeing purchasing trends and others. Ideas of institutions that would be good for all of the, let's say, the US side of who's watching today to be in touch with, to see how they can track trends and find partnerships or opportunities one way or the other?
I didn't get correctly. I don't know if Ambassador Mulamula has got you correctly.
In fact, what if I understood you well, Mark, that one is how we track the trend of the needs for organic products. I think that is one around the world. But two is how we can link the institutions, because on both sides.
Yeah.
In terms of this knowing what are the needs, what are the demands around the world, and what Tanzania maybe can offer. For example, you mentioned about pyrethrum flowers and of course oil. So I think that if was that the question?
Well, I think you're really getting at what was on my mind, which is there's following trends, and we each hear little things, and then that makes a big picture. And then there's making trends, finding more efficient ways and sharing technology. And then there's finding those points where we say, this is really something that's together. There was a related question that got typed in by George Frambo, who was asked this question I'd say for either of you, but it's very specific in trade. George Smith says in this question, he spent 2 years working on a wood-based panel manufacturing in Iringa, Mafinga, Iringa Mafinga?
Yes.
Yeah, this is a highly needed project in East Africa in terms of job creation. The project is currently stalled. Are there things that could happen that could jumpstart that project? I know nothing about that, but it seems like that's things go through waves and periods, and sounds like a specific project that is in work somehow.
Okay, I think as I presented here, the readiness of the sixth federal government and Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan in improving the business environment. So yes, this is the focus we are doing, as you have said. We are going through various laws that we are just seeing they are just making some hurdles for our investors to work very nicely and in a good way. So we are just working with the various laws, and we are almost finalizing the Investment Act that we see will be that will be a great move for us
on this
to
an app for the phone.
An act, not app. No. It's an investment act.
Oh, okay. Act.
Yes. So,
yes.
Yes.
Law.
That should take out all the challenges, as you have said. It's just moving in the business. There are some hurdles, ups and downs. So we just learned from 2018 what are these hurdles that our investors and business community are facing. So we are ready as the government, and we are finalizing our Investment Act that we think what our colleagues in Iringa Mafinga has just first did. We hope we are going to clear all those hurdles, and our investors and business community will have a very well and good working environment in all sectors, investment and the trade sectors, all of them.
It's fantastic news, this change. And is there a best address or point of contact inside of Foreign Affairs Ministry or the Trade Investment for people who want to communicate or ask questions? We could put it in the chat or I mean, just, I would say a point of contact that is the right place for people to provide information or to get information in your ministries. But it just feels like we say the sun has come out, fresh air, that you have this opportunity, but it also is a moment of kind of, global challenges, whether it's pandemic or climate or the civil violence or wars and disruptions in supply chains and disruption. And I feel like one of the bright spots on the planet is this agreement about the African Free Trade Area, the East African. I've seen even information about discussions on sovereignty, creating a mega East African sovereign that would then be, the fourth biggest country on the planet. It feels like your region has both lots of opportunities happening, but also you have the opportunity to give optimism and inspiration to the rest of the planet. Do you feel that on the inside, that you're giving the rest of us kind of a push, a spark, an inspiration that will help us deal with all the other big challenges we have? Does it feel like that to you?
Thank you so much, Mark. If I start with the first issue, the point that if everybody has something can contact, yes. As I mentioned, we have Tanzania Investment Center. That is the responsible institution within Tanzania that deals with investors and the business community. If they need anything, they can push. And I said it is just a single window for all. That's when you push a button to Tanzania Investment Center, you meet with all regulatory authorities, but also you meet with all the ministries. So any question that you will require, you will get some responses from there. So that was the first point. And coming to the global challenges, as you have said, with the disruption in supply chain, we can see our community, let's say East Africa community, the SADC, and currently the Africa Free Continental Trade Area. Yes, we feel this is an inspiration for us. If everybody can concentrate on what he or she has the competitive advantage in producing, so that we can plan ourselves as a continent. What are we ready to sell for the world, to offer to the world? So this is something we are seeing is an inspirational and opportunity for all of us, that we are here, we need to work as a single Africa united, concentrate with what you have, the advantage on it, the comparative advantage that you have, concentrate, let us trade ourselves, and let us trade to the world together.
Madam Ambassador Mulamula, anything to add? You are part of a dynamic and powerful woman-led government. There are more than there were before. They're not yet enough, but it must feel different, and it must feel like some responsibility or some things that you have to pay attention to on your back.
Yes, let me, first of all, I'm just, while listening, I'm also following the chat.
It's fun, huh? Watching people make deals in a chat. You know, we should do this every week.
I'm getting into the chat room, and I find there's a question or a comment that the World Bank doing business report indicates that the ease of doing business in Tanzania is very poor, and Tanzania is ranked at 147 out of 190. One, of course, I wanted to assure whoever has written this that this report, I don't know how latest is the report, but if you follow the latest report, even up to 2021, I think the picture is different. The picture is different.
Yes.
The environment, doing business in Tanzania has significantly improved. And everyone is just abroad seeing how much has changed. So I wanted to assure him or her that things are really different.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Also, so coming to your question, which again, we are fortunate, of course, to have as our leader, the president, who happens, because she says, I'm the president who happens to be a woman. But then the difference is not that women are different, but the women, they do things differently.
Yeah.
With a lot of compassion, but also you can see this short time, 1 year, this is how women are. Things have improved, not even using maybe more resources, but how the approach is different. So we wanted to share with you the good story you have heard from the Minister of Investment and Trade. It's not a political rhetoric, but how things have improved. I was also following on George's question about the wood-based panel manufacturing plant that closed down. I don't know how long ago when he was there, because he said he was there for 2 years. So we want to say, come back. Come back. Things are different. Things are different. There have been, as the minister explained, there have been a number of regulatory reforms. We have removed through these reforms, we have removed a number of irritants in terms of the taxes. There were so many taxes which have now been, I think, mainstream. It's down. Maybe they are down to few. I can't say how many, but really, these are the areas that were really not conducive for doing business. So there's a lot of improvement. But also for the contracts, the minister mentioned the Tanzania Investment Center, which is actually one-stop center, because I saw one of the comments saying Tanzania Investment Center is a single stop. No, it's one. It's one-stop center. So meaning that when you get into the center, then all your questions, whether it is about taxation, whether it's about land, whether it's about incentives, whether it's about immigration, it's all provided at the center. So we, as Foreign Affairs, we have a department dedicated to interacting with all of you. The department is called Economic Diplomacy because that is our main thrust of our foreign policy now. It's how we interact, but how we facilitate, how we promote trade and investment, tourism, you name it. So I want to just, Mark, just to pitch on what the minister has just said. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's this dilemma of how we use democracy to choose leaders, and democracy has all kinds of definitions and things change, and that's how we do things. But what's been important in what you've said this morning and what people can see is when you decide to do things to make it easier, to make it more streamlined, to make it more productive, then you begin to build relationships, which are the things you need when times get tough. COVID hits, supply chain problems exist. A great big giant ship clogs up the Suez Canal. I mean, you know, Beirut that blows up the port. Things happen. And if we have good relations, we will find some solutions. If we have bad relations, it will be tougher. And I know for our organization, Global Minnesota, we advance international understanding and engagement. Sometimes we have presidents who don't like that, don't want that. So there is always in our country debates, I believe probably true in all countries, but it feels like you're on a path of cooperation, internal and external. And I know from my point of view in Minnesota, you're pointing out that we are way underperforming as a state in terms of being a partner with Tanzania. I want to do something about that. And you've given us some very specific ways that you've structured the contact point, you know, the thought process. Can the two of you think a year ahead and another year? I mean, can you see the direction so that the audience that's on this webinar watching can say, oh, they're heading in that direction. I know where we have an expression here because we play hockey, where the hockey puck is going is where you want to skate. And I don't know how that translates necessarily in the rest of the world, but you know what I mean. If you can help us see where you want to be a year, 2 years, 3 years out, we can be saying, oh, we want to be there too. We want to be there with you.
Thank you so much, Mark. Where do you want to be in the next 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years to come as a country and as with a visionary leader, Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan? Tanzania wants to be an investment and business hub for both East Africa and Southern and Central Africa, taking the advantages of the location of our country. This is the natural advantage that we have. And that's why now we are working hard to take out all the hurdles that existed before, be in terms of policies, in terms of our laws and everything. We want to create an environment that a business and an investor can flourish within Tanzania, and we can save the world from Tanzania. Tanzania is a gateway to the 6 landlocked countries that are around us here in Eastern and Southern Africa. So that's something we are just want to see ourselves in 2 to 3 years, becoming a business and investment hub for both for almost all the world, that is going to southern part of the Africa, to eastern part of the Africa, but going to the world, taking advantage of the AGOA, the agreement that we have with the United States of America. That's something we want. That's why we are telling investors, just come, invest with us, and let us save the world from Tanzania. This is where I see Tanzania as a minister dealing with investment, business, and industries. We want to become a semi-industrialized country by 2025. This is why we are moving, as you are seeing us. Tanzania is open, with open-handed. We are welcoming investors and business communities to come and establish their businesses here in Tanzania.
I know from good friends of Minnesota that Equity Group and Equity Bank has been a partner and been working a lot in Tanzania. Is that an example of one of those regional developments that we can be looking forward to and plug into directly?
Yes, that's Equity Group is one of the several investors that are working with us, and we are telling our country is open. Just welcome all of the investors, the business community. We want to work with them. The environment is quite favorable for them as of now and coming 5 and 50 years to come. So we are prepared to serve them.
We're getting near the end of this part of this morning's webinar, and I'm wondering, Madam Ambassador, any final words or any thoughts about other messages and things that we can be doing to lift up Minnesota's underperformance in this market, and then to build things that are really working for both of us as we go into the future?
Yes, thank you, Mark. Again, so talking of underperformance, because the Minnesota has a big potential. Big potential which has not maybe been fully exploited in our relations. So this is one, I think I commend this initiative to unlock those potential areas because when I was ambassador, we were more on issues of education, which is important, but we didn't exploit more about the areas in terms of investment, in terms of trade. So this is where I think we need now to see how best to unlock those potential that Minnesota is endowed with. Because I saw there was a question on whether we'll be establishing honorary consul in Minnesota, because it's the retirement of Kjell Bergh. We have not had one, but I want to assure all of you that we are now in the process of, we have been reviewing our representations in terms of the honorary consuls. So soon we will also have come up with another consul in the big Minnesota area. So it is under active consideration. So I really want to, because with the honorary consul, and again, as I said, thank you to Kjell Bergh. He was the one who was opening doors, showing us where the opportunities are. So we are kind of missing that, because working from Washington, where our embassy is, it's not very easy. But when we have somebody on the ground, it's a lot of difference. And no, in this meeting, I have also my colleagues who work on this on an everyday basis in the ministry. So I'm sure they will follow up, make sure that as we continue to review our representation through honorary consuls, Minnesota will be one of the priorities. So I really wanted to assure you that soon.
Really, really great news. And also, Honorary Consul Bergh was host one year for the National Conference of the Diaspora. and I was Secretary of State and had the opportunity to participate. And that was a powerful, big picture look. So we want to be able to do more things like that. And Basil and Minnesota Africans United looking at a second trade mission, the next one, Ghana, Cameroon, Kenya, Tanzania. So finding those ways that we connect by the special people like Bergh and others, and finding those ways that we see and get to know each other seems like it's a bright path forward for us in this regard. Minister, your unbelievable big picture gave me all kinds of things to think about to help my state lift up its underperformance. Any last words or ways that you would like to tie up this part of today's webinar?
Oh, thank you so much, Mark. And as said by my colleague, Excellency Ambassador Mulamula, I think we are looking forward to strengthening the relationship between Tanzania and the United States, particularly Minnesota community, so that we can increase the trade volume and investment opportunities. As we have created also, we have area that's dealing with export processing zones that we have put in place all the structures, all the infrastructures that we need, that investors need, so that they can establish their businesses in it. But also we have what we call industrial parks in several regions here in Tanzania, specializing in all the products that I have mentioned before to you. So when you just click, as I said, in the Invest Tanzania Investment Center, then it will tell you of your interest, where can you go, and you start exploring. And we are ready 24/7, serving our investors and business community, so that we can develop together with a win-win relationship. This is something I could tell, and I would say we are opening our hands to welcoming you here in Tanzania from Minnesota and generally the United States. You are most welcome.
Thank you both so much for your time this morning, your observations and advice. Also, we like to welcome people to our state. And so we look forward to whenever we find that right opportunity to welcome you and your colleagues. But also we want to come visit and make that trade delegation that Basil has plans for come to pass. And I look forward to that next moment when we get a chance to talk. And I want to be a little more proud the next time, having helped get Minnesota to not be underperforming in this regard. And I look forward to speaking with you and working with you on many other things in the future. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you so much, and have a very good morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Christine, and everyone. Thank you.
Goodbye now. For all of you watching, we are moving now into the second half of our webinar. This is being recorded, and it will be available on the Minnesota Africans United website under events. And so if you missed part of this or would like to review it again, this is the kind of next in a series which we are doing every few months, connecting Minnesota to a specific country in Africa, and connecting that country and its possibilities and its dreams and its visions with ours here in Minnesota. But our next guest is somebody who's been doing this really effectively and really, really important, impactly. Dr. Barbara McDonald is president of the College of St. Scholastica, which is one of our universities here in Minnesota. We're a state blessed with tradition, a history, a heritage, a culture of affirming education at all ages, but especially what we call higher education. But Dr. McDonald has really been a leader and taken us into the international arena in so many important ways. And I'm thrilled to invite Dr. McDonald to the microphone and to turn this portion of the webinar over to you. Welcome and thank you again.
Thank you very much, Mark, for inviting me to this. And welcome to our Tanzanian excellencies and distinguished delegates. And thank you especially to Basil and Minnesota Africans United for having me today to speak a little bit about higher education. I'm going to talk a little bit about the College of St. Scholastica and our history, our connection with Tanzania, and our relationship and the economic development aspect of the conversation that we're having today. So as Mark mentioned, the College of St. Scholastica is located in Minnesota. We are located in Northeast Minnesota on Lake Superior, one of the large Great Lakes in our country. A little bit about our history. The College of St. Scholastica was founded by the Sisters of the Benedictine Monastery. They came to this area with two purposes, education and healthcare. And with that history, they began a school for girls, and that became a college for women. And in 1969, we became co-ed. So the college has been around for over 110 years, serving Minnesota and the world. A little bit about our connection with Tanzania. And I think it's really important that we talk about this piece because education is all about investing in human capital, and education plays a significant role in the economic health of our communities, both in the United States and across the globe. Our connection with our international community is incredibly important in terms of global prosperity and health. And we play a part in that, as do many of our higher education institutions in Minnesota. Our relationship actually is quite unique with Tanzania. It began through the relationship built between the sisters at the St. Scholastica Monastery and Tanzanian twinning communities. This started almost 30 years ago with the African Benedictine Sisters of St. Agnes and St. Gertrude convents became partners with the college and with the monastery. These communities are located in the western and southwestern areas of Tanzania and Songea and Imiliwaha. And each year, since 2000, our students have gone to serve in Tanzania in exchange programs. The Benedictine service learning trips have really impacted both education and healthcare in these missions. And it's been an incredible experience for our students to be able to engage with Tanzanian communities. They've also enjoyed time, of course, in Zanzibar and Dar es Salaam on either end of their mission trips and got to know the country as well. One of the main organizations that they connected with was the Friends of the Imiliwaha organization that really supports specific education-related projects. And we know that education is key to human capital because without training and education, our economies do not thrive. So in that aspect, we also have a special relationship with the twinning communities in the fact that we educate sisters coming from these communities to get their higher education degree. Each year, we have sisters who attend the College of St. Scholastica from Tanzania and return there after getting their degree to serve the community, specifically in areas of medicine and education. We've educated doctors, we've educated school principals, we've educated teachers and entrepreneurs. And many of these folks have started their own businesses and schools in Tanzania or have been engaged in other efforts in economic development. We also serve many students from the African immigrant population, both at the College of St. Scholastica and at other higher education institutions in Minnesota. As Mark mentioned earlier, not only do we have the private colleges serving Minnesota, but we also have a large number of public 2-year and 4-year institutions underneath the Minnesota state system, as well as the University of Minnesota. So in my experience, I know how important it is to invest in human development and what kind of impact that human capital has on economic prosperity, community health, and well-being. The most important to that is access and opportunity to get an education, to increase one's economic mobility, and to impact communities. And here at St. Scholastica, one of the top schools that achieves this, our students graduate in the fields of healthcare, medicine, education, business, and several other fields. And it's all about access and opportunity and affordability. So I'm so pleased that Minnesota Africans United has invested in this and created the Kofi Annan Scholarship Program to support African immigrants and other students of color in Minnesota to be able to get that education. And here at our college, we make educational affordable by offering every student financial aid, including our international students. Another way higher education impacts economic development, and something that might be of great interest to Tanzania, is relationships through research and development. Aside from exchange programs where we can send students, faculty, business representatives, and so on to learn about each other's economies and education, areas including research and development are really primary in terms of growing an economy. I can think, for example, specifically, Minnesota is a state of great agriculture, for example, great technology, great medicine. What ways can we collaborate and partner through the University of Minnesota, through the Minnesota state system, through our private colleges to engage in research and development? As part of our ongoing efforts here in the Duluth area and the Northeast region, we hope to continue to build relations with African nations and Tanzania specifically. I serve on the board of the economic agency Apex, and I'm also a trustee of the City of Duluth Chamber of Commerce. And we're looking forward to building relationships with business and industries in Africa. I'm not sure you know this, but Duluth is actually the largest inland port in the United States with trade across the globe. And Northeast Minnesota is the heart of mining industry, among many, with products such as taconite for steel production. So a lot of opportunity to collaborate around economic development and international relations and trade. I want to also highlight the College of St. Scholastica's commitment to growing relationships with the African communities in Minnesota by offering pathways to education. Minnesota is home to many, many, many immigrants from Africa. And in my previous position, serving as president within the Minnesota state system, we served many of these populations and saw economic development prosperity come from those relations. Diversifying our workforce, and in particular, preparing future workers in critical fields such as healthcare and other industries is very, very important to the success of our economy. Over the years, we've been educating Africans who return to their country, as I mentioned, and have helped to change the dynamics of Africa. So we'd like to build relationships with the government of Tanzania and possibly attend, if we're lucky, to participate as a member of the education field, a future trade mission to the country to learn how we might collaborate in terms of supporting and investing in our human capital. So thank you, Mark. Thank you, Basil, for having me on today. I'm very happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. And I want to thank you for being a leader. The things that you do is super important, but your leadership inspires others, and it gives people a sense of how much being connected to the world is part of who we are as a people, but also how we benefit from that and the whole planet. So thank you again. I have one specific question, which it sounds like this is a very deep and long-lasting relationship. Are there other East African countries or African countries on the continent that you have similar or growing relationships like the ones you have?
Yes, thank you for asking that question. I've been serving at the College of St. Scholastica for 3 years, and 2 of those years have been in the pandemic, so it's been an interesting road. So yes, we do have relations in South Africa, specifically with university relations with the faculty. We have also just hired faculty who are from Cameroon as well. So our goal in the next couple of years is to expand our relationships with Cameroon specifically, and also using his connections in Africa to grow exchange programs with other African countries.
That's great. So this seems like for you, it becomes part of integrating faculty into your shop, having students integrated in that way.
Right.
Even during the pandemic, you've kept moving forward. That's great.
We have. And I would say that the most important thing we can do is exchange faculty, exchange students, get people in both areas across our globe to be able to experience what it means to live in another culture, what the opportunities are to advance economies, and how we're connected globally. Building understanding and building collaboration. We know, you mentioned earlier, the importance of relationships. If we have good relationships, when issues come up that we need to attend to or crises occur, we've got people we can call and support one way or the other in terms of working on those problems and solving them together. The world is becoming increasingly a small place, and we are very interdependent on one another. So expanding the worldview and being able to understand the economies that make the world work through exchange of students, of faculty, of staff, but also exchange of ideas across business and industry will really be an important aspect of our work moving forward.
Amen. A perfect place to end this segment. Can you make sure that your contact is in the chat? And I look forward to seeing you again, but finding new ways that we can work together. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Bye. So for those of you tuning in from wherever on the planet, we're discussing today very specifically our connections, Minnesota, Tanzania, and we've been recording this so you can observe it online afterwards and review it. And that will be up there permanently, Minnesota Africans United under events. We're now going to turn to our keynote speaker from the commercial office there at the U.S. Embassy. Kenneth Walsh is the senior commercial advisor there in Tanzania. I want to invite you to the screen and thank you very much for taking time to be part of our webinar here today.
Oh, great. Thanks so much. The first thing I did was I put some information into the chat, a couple links that I'll refer to later on. But first, I just want to thank you, Minnesota Africans United, for the opportunity to speak with you this morning for you, this evening for us over here. I want to extend my thanks to Your Excellencies, Ambassador Mulamula and the Honorable Minister Kijaji for those excellent remarks and an excellent overview of Tanzania, the opportunities, the new spirit and the new excitement that has been generated by business people, investors, etc. in the country. So first, what I thought I'd do is I'd introduce myself and the commercial service a little bit, provide some broad information about the Tanzanian economic overview, a basic overview of some of the challenges and opportunities here, and discuss some of the sectors that Minister Kijaji referred to, but maybe just go a little bit deeper in that. But I don't want to repeat everything that Minister Kijaji said. So first about the commercial service. So the U.S. Commercial Service is part of the U.S. Department of Commerce. We have offices all over the world in about 75 countries and our major trading partners. So Tanzania is one of those. I am a foreign service officer, a commercial officer that is serving in the embassy in Dar es Salaam. So we operate out of embassies and consulates worldwide. Just previous to this, I was in Dusseldorf, Germany. So we're talking about connections. My connection with Minnesota, I never lived there, but I feel like I know so many people from there through the medical device industry, which of course is massive in Minnesota. So we hosted the State Office of Economic Development in Dusseldorf for the Medica trade show. So we've had a lot of connections with the state, and you have a lot of innovative companies, and we're looking forward to helping them enter into the Tanzanian market. So the commercial service, like I said, we're a federal government agency, and we provide a number of services, export counseling. We do that mostly through our U.S. offices. So I said we have 75 countries or offices in 75 countries throughout the world. We also have offices in 100 cities throughout the United States. So our office in Minneapolis is staffed with excellent international trade specialists who can provide you great counseling and provide you with information about the different destinations that you're looking at, including Tanzania. So if Tanzania is on your screen, and it's going to pop up on your screen, of course, because of the interest that you have in Africa and the trip in October, and they would connect you with me, and then we talk about specifics about the African and the Tanzanian market. We provide market intelligence, and that can either be specific information about regulations or regulatory procedures, tariffs, etc., or we can actually do customized market research for you so that we can really find out if there's a market for your particular product, where's the market, how large is it, where the buyers are, and you can develop a real export strategy from that. business matchmaking. So after you've figured out that Tanzania is your market, we can connect you one-on-one with the people you need to work successfully in Tanzania, whether it's a buyer or an agent or a government ministry that you need to connect with. We do that. And then commercial diplomacy, the final one. If you're having some concerns with a foreign government, we can interact with that foreign government, the Tanzanian government, on a daily basis. We work with them so we can talk about what your issue is, what is the roadblock, how we can get past that roadblock, and hopefully we can persuade the government that having a U.S. company operating in Tanzania is to their benefit, and we can hopefully change regulation, assist you with moving your project forward. So that's what our commercial diplomacy is. So we're happy to do those things for you, and happy to have you call us through our Minnesota office or directly to Tanzania. And so on the left-hand side, you see our team in Tanzania. That's me, Ken Walsh, and then we have 2 locally engaged staff members who focus on specific sectors. So locally engaged staff are, of course, Tanzanians. They're great networkers, and they know their industries very well. So they're able to provide insights about how to operate in Tanzania, about your sectors specifically. So sorry about that long commercial, but thought I might introduce who we are. So hopefully the slides are moving. Just let me know if they aren't. So just a quick overview of Tanzania. I mean, it's a I assume that you've done some research on Tanzania already. It's a very large country, East African country, both economically and geographically. I mean, geographically first, it's the second largest country behind Ethiopia in terms of population, with about 59 million people and growing. It's the 3rd largest economy behind Kenya and Ethiopia. I think Minister Kijaji mentioned this earlier, and we'll talk about it a little later. It does border a number of African countries, Kenya to the north and Mozambique to the south. Now, those are on the Indian Ocean, so they have port access. But it is also borders 6 landlocked countries. So Burundi, Democratic Republic of Congo, Malawi, Rwanda, Uganda, and Zambia. So we'll talk a little bit about how that's going to make Tanzania really a logistics center for East Africa and moving into Central Africa. And it's going to create a lot of opportunities for you and your business if you're into logistics and a lot of other areas. The capital city is Dodoma. It's really right in the middle of the country. You can see that red dot there. And the commercial capital is Dar es Salaam. So Dar es Salaam is a port city. It's the largest city and very close to Zanzibar as well. And we'll talk a little bit about Zanzibar too. I think Minister Kijaji, both Minister Kijaji and Ambassador Mulamula talked about the integration with Tanzania into the economic communities. So it's a member of both the East African community and the Southern African Development Community. So those are extremely important because when you're doing business in Tanzania, then you'll have access to all of those other countries that are members of the EAC and SADC countries. So Tanzania is the only member of both of those regional groups. So it's important for transferring your goods and registering your goods. That'll open up to a number of different markets. So let's see, I'm going to move forward here. Great. And then just a quick word on the economic overview. There's good economic trends. It's a stable economy, good macroeconomic conditions, stable growth. I mean, even during COVID, it was not hit as negatively. I mean, certainly, I don't want to downplay the negative economic effects of COVID, but it survived the COVID crisis, which is still going on, relatively well compared to a number of other economies. We're looking at continuing stable economic growth of about 4 to 6% in the near and medium term. Stable currency, relatively low inflation. Now that's of course changing globally because of the issues with energy and food prices. And then you can see a little bit about the structure of the economy. You can see how much of the economy is focused on agriculture by the percentage of the workforce. So about almost 70% of the workforce is in agriculture, and then industry and services. So, Minister Kijaji talked about increasing their efforts to industrialize the economy. So that's a great opportunity there. And then you can see the GDP. So there's a lot of people working in agriculture, 66% according to that figure. GDP is 26% of that is derived from agriculture. So you see that there's probably a lot of, well, there is a lot of opportunity to increase efficiencies in the agricultural sector. So Minnesota is well positioned for that. So, you know, the key sectors, we'll take a look at these, just looking at exports from Tanzania: gold, metals, semi-precious stones. I think we just heard about the mining competencies in northern Minnesota. Agricultural products and fisheries products. The key exports from the U.S. to Tanzania, we actually are a huge exporter of liquid propane gas, but it's a big aerospace market for us, airplanes, aerospace, actual airplanes and parts and services, pharmaceuticals, medical devices, which of course Minnesota is very strong on, railroad parts, we'll talk about that standard gauge railroad that Minister Kijaji talked about as well, and there's lots of service opportunities as well. Top exporters to Tanzania, so just so you know who your competition is, China is a huge exporter to Tanzania. That will be your main competition in a lot of sectors that you're operating in. India, South Africa, Japan, United States. So those are the top exporters to Tanzania. So you can still see that, although I think the minister mentioned that our numbers are low, or perhaps it was Ambassador Mulamula said that our exports and our bilateral trade are not where they should be. So there's certainly some room for growth there, and I hope that we can do that through Minnesota. We talked a lot about opportunities. There are some challenges in this market. You know, this is from our investment climate statement, which is the link that I put in the chat. It says, quote, corruption, especially in government procurement, privatization, taxation, and customs clearance remains a concern for foreign investors, although the government has prioritized efforts to combat the practice. So there are some, I mean, it's not smooth sailing. You know, you heard about the World Bank Index, you know, perhaps they're increasing their ease of doing business in Tanzania, but, you know, I would be remiss if I didn't say that it's a challenging market and you need to be prepared for that. But of course, there are a lot of opportunities. Being a logistics center for East Africa, I think that's a real goal of the administration, and I think that's something that they're going to achieve in some years. You know, there is some logistics infrastructure development that needs to be done, but I think if you get in early, you're going to be well positioned for that. There's a lot of increased infrastructure spending. And then, like I said, access to those other regional trading groups, so the EAC and the SADC markets. So now let's look at some specific opportunities, and I'm not going to, I'll be happy to provide these slides to you. There's some links in there that you might want to click on. You know, I'm not going to read these slides, but I do want to say that, you know, agriculture and agricultural processing, I think Minister Kijaji said that they need help all up and down the value chain in agriculture, whether it's from the very beginning, which is seed technologies, to mechanization, to storage of harvested crops, and then transporting them to market. There's really needs at every level. The Minister of Agriculture recently tabled a budget with large increases in the agricultural sector. And then I think we heard a reference to the 5-year agricultural development plan in Tanzania. So there is money and backing behind this, and I think there's a real impetus among not only the private sector, the government, but also development partners to increase agricultural outputs here. And I think that you know, Tanzania can really become a regional powerhouse for the agricultural trade. They're starting to export much more to foreign markets, but also to far abroad markets, but also in their regional zone of influence. There's lots of opportunities there that Minnesota firms can take advantage of. So we'll look at the healthcare sector, where I said, as you know, Minnesota is very well positioned there. Here, there's also significant spending on healthcare, both by the Tanzanian government, and there are many development partners that are very active here. USAID and PEPFAR from the United States side, as well as many international development partners. And they're working not only on you know, infrastructure in terms of physical infrastructure, but also digital infrastructure, and actual bringing life-saving medical devices and pharmaceutical products. So it's a young, growing population, but there are significant challenges with healthcare. You'll see some of those that I listed with maternal health, non-communicable diseases is something that diabetes that they're really moving a focus to. HIV/AIDS has been an issue in throughout the continent for a long time, and we continue to fight those efforts. Or work on those efforts to fight HIV/AIDS, as well as malaria. So whether it's interdiction of the malaria-carrying mosquitoes or it's treatment, that's a very strong focus of ours. So there's low health insurance penetration in Tanzania, so there is going to be quite a bit of price sensitivity. So you need to address that issue as well. But there may be some opportunities for insurance firms. I thought I heard something about that earlier, that may want to enter the market. And then you'll see some of the opportunities. I mean, really, there's opportunities all up and down the healthcare market. Now, moving on to energy, the energy sector. Tanzania is endowed with great natural resources. You heard about that in the mining sector, but also, there's lots of hydropower here that will be coming online soon with the completion of a huge hydropower project in 2023, 2024. Lots of solar resources, geothermal resources. It's a large natural gas resources here as well. And, there are some challenges bringing these major energy projects to fruition. There's regulatory hurdles through the state-owned energy utility, which is called TANESCO. So that has been, sometimes a help, sometimes a hindrance to investors coming into the market. And public-private partnerships, they've had challenges, long-term challenges, bringing their projects to fruition. So, that's where we try to intervene and work with you to, make sure that the attention is given to those particular projects and that they come to finally come to fruition. So whether it's bringing a large project or bringing small-scale solutions that can assist some of those large projects, there's plenty of opportunities here. And then long-term, there's huge, like I said, natural gas resources here. There's a potentially large liquid natural gas facility that they're negotiating with major international oil companies off the south eastern coast of Tanzania. And if that comes through, that'll be a $30 billion project, which will bring along all of the infrastructure that's needed to bring that online. And then, of course, with all these energy projects, there's transmission. Required increased transmission capacity is needed, so solutions in that area are certainly welcome. We'll talk a little bit about infrastructure. There are just lots of infrastructure needs, and the government is committed to developing those, including their ports. I mean, like I said, they have access to 6 landlocked countries, and they want to be the country that is bringing products not only from those countries to the international market, but international imports to those particular countries overland and through the sea through Tanzania's ports. So seaport, airport, road projects, airlines, we've received a lot of funding and upgrades to Air Tanzania. So there's certainly opportunities there on the infrastructure side, both in terms of financing as well as actually providing construction services and new technologies for port management, for airline management, for services that are provided at the ports and at the airports, both to commercial services and services to the consumers of those products. And then the standard gauge rail project. So that is a huge project that's connecting the port of Dar es Salaam and through overland, of course, it's a rail project to the West Coast and those landlocked countries that we mentioned before. So when those come online, the first section of the standard gauge rail project is almost to completion, and then we'll see some additional sections of that rail project continuing throughout this decade, and it'll really be advantageous for Tanzania. Major competition in this area come from Chinese, Turkish, Korean, and Japanese firms. So there is there's lots of opportunities, but there's lots of competition as well. So here just some other key industries, but what I really want to say is that if your industry is not one that I mentioned, we have all kinds of clients in all kinds of industries. We're working with Upepo and Astra Energy, which are energy companies, of course, Crane Currency, which is a banknote printing company, Parallel Wireless, which is in the telecommunications field, colleges and universities, security services, safety and security, fertilizer and irrigation. So really, there's a tremendous opportunity here, and we just ask you to let us know about your product, and we'll be happy to provide some initial guidance through our Minnesota office and through our Dar es Salaam office about what the opportunities are and what the prospects are for your product. Do want to say a word about Zanzibar. Hasn't been mentioned too much in this call, but it is a semi-autonomous republic of Tanzania. Lots of investment and infrastructure upgrade projects there. There are 1.5 million inhabitants. I think that they're pretty forward-thinking about public-private partnerships, especially for companies that are bringing financing. There's lots of opportunities in renewable energy. They're facing a real crisis in terms of providing energy to their travel and tourism resorts that I'm sure that you've all seen and heard of with the beautiful beaches, but they need energy to run and they're running out of it. So they need some solutions for that, and they're really aggressively focusing on that. The blue economy with fisheries, seaweed farming is a big project here. So it's the processing of that, the collection, harvesting, etc. Zanzibar is very focused on the blue economy and agricultural solutions as well as what they're looking for. So just real quick on market entry. I mean, it's not brain surgery here. Market entry, you really need to have a local partner. There is lots of competition here. So you need to have someone who really knows how to navigate the market, someone you can trust, and someone who's who can get deals closed. As a distributor, an agent, a joint venture, however you want to work that, we can help you provide some contacts for those people. Tanzania Investment Center has been mentioned a couple times. There's the AmCham of Tanzania. So we have it's a smaller AmCham, as Minister Kijaji or actually Ambassador Mulamula said, there's not that critical mass of U.S. companies here. So we're excited to have Minnesota and your companies come here. So it's a smaller group, but it's growing. It's grown by about 11 or 12% over last year. So we're seeing more and more companies that are interested. They're joining the AmCham. So you'll have a nice U.S. community of like-minded businesses that can answer your questions and provide you some real actionable intelligence for you. And that's it for me. So that's my contact information. So like I said, Ken Walsh, the Senior Commercial Officer. We also cover Malawi from Tanzania. That's our partner post. We have offices, like I said, in 75 countries, but we expand our reach through working with partners in other embassies and consulates where we don't actually have a physical office. And then there's the office in Minneapolis. Brian Kane, who probably all of you know because he's an institution there. You can connect with him on that link there, and they'll connect you either to me or, I know we're focusing on Tanzania, but they can connect you to Egypt or South Africa or Ghana or Cameroon or wherever you're looking to export. So thanks a lot for your time, and look forward to hearing from you, and look forward to hopefully seeing you all in October.
Thank you so much, Ken, and thank you for all of your work and your colleagues' work in helping to make those connection points really feasible, really concrete and actual. So thank you for your presentation, and jump in. We're going to move now to our former honorary consul from Tanzania here in Minnesota, a very successful business leader, community leader, Kjell Bergh. You've heard a little bit about him from before. And Kjell, in his role as honorary consul, but also just as a very strong friend of Tanzania, has been tracking and helping and facilitating and nudging in Minnesota, in Tanzania, and beyond to build more relationships in commerce, in tourism, in education, just in heart-to-heart, people-to-people. Kjell Bergh, it's so wonderful to have you join us today, and I want to hand the microphone over to you.
Thank you very much, Mark. I'm delighted to be able to participate with so many friends that I've worked with over the years. And it's particularly delightful to see Ambassador Mulamula, Minister of Foreign Affairs, whom I've worked with under several different administrations in Tanzania. I have a long history in Tanzania in terms of involvement both with education, commerce, tourism, and a number of other sectors. First, because I'm interested in it. And secondly, because I have a deep commitment, as Mark said, to the country. I was married to a Tanzanian for 36 years, beginning less than a year after the US Supreme Court outlawed all bans on interracial marriage. So I have some deep personal experience within both the former majority leadership in Tanzania and in the post-independence leadership, of course. By way of background, otherwise, I was appointed to be Honorary Consul, the first Honorary Consul in the United States for Tanzania by President Mkapa. Ben Mkapa had been ambassador to the United States. We became close friends and maintained that friendship when he was Minister of Foreign Affairs, etc. And I also worked very closely with President Kikwete and chose to terminate my assignment as Honorary Consul after 15 years when Dr. Magufuli was elected president, because I had no particular connection to him, and I wanted to make sure that I could function properly with the sitting president. Sadly, as it turned out, he had some inclinations, as we've seen in many countries, including our own, to take a little different view on the freedom of the press and dissidents and so forth. So I'm pleased with my decision in that way. But I continue to work for Tanzania, whether I'm directly engaged or not, and or officially engaged, I should say. I have been involved in a number of large projects. The first one was that friends of mine and I bought Tarangire Safari Lodge in 1985 and took that from 500 overnight guests to 17,000 overnight guests in 3 years. And we also had another safari company, a photo safari company, that I was also the major shareholder in. On the NGO side, I have walked the Rift Valley of Tanzania from Loliondo down to Arusha, 211 miles in 8 days. Done that twice to raise money for the Salaam Hospital, where I was a founding board member. And I've also climbed Kilimanjaro 3 times, both for fun and as fundraisers. And most recently, a couple of years ago, I was part of a Books for Africa group that walked across Zanzibar to raise awareness of the literacy drought in large parts of Africa. And or I should say the book drought is more correctly put. Tanzania has a high literacy rate. And on that particular tour, we were honored also to be accompanied by Dave Robinson, the son of Jackie Robinson, who integrated baseball in America. The most important thing when you come to Tanzania as a potential investor is to understand the culture. It is very different from the way we do business in America in general. And it's important to understand that going in. And just to demonstrate a quick example, the way you approach someone's home or office in Tanzania is to stand quietly outside the door and say, Hodi. And if there's no answer, you say one more time, Hodi. And if there's still no answer, that means either that they're not prepared to accept guests at that time, or there's no one home. You don't bang on the door and speak in a louder voice or ring a doorbell a number of times. And that's simply symbolic of how business is done in Tanzania. You need to be respectful of the culture, and they will return that respect tenfold. But trying to bulldoze your way through the American or through the Tanzanian economic system is not productive. So that's why, as Ken Walsh said, it's very important to have local partners who can help navigate those issues for you. Tanzania is wide open to investments. I have built a number of companies in various states in the United States, and also in Norway, where I'm from originally. And I must say that the least amount of bureaucracy that I faced in investing was in Tanzania, not in the United States, not in Norway. And that's not a general rule, but I was fortunate enough to be able to navigate it in a way that became very, very productive. And government was very glad to have direct foreign investment, and they were very glad to have someone who understood the country. And they opened a number of doors for us and for our partners. And that was also true after I became Honorary Consul and assisted a number of companies in opening up educational institutions, NGOs, and corporate involvement in Tanzania. And it's particularly delightful to see that the Tanzanian diaspora is also investing in Tanzania. For example, Dr. Crispin Semakula from Minneapolis, who was born and raised in Tanzania, has invested his hard-earned money in opening up a very large dialysis clinic in Salaam, and as far as I know, is planning to do more. And there are many others who have formed foundations and corporations to return some of their capital to Tanzania in various forms, which I think is very, very good. And the TIC, the Tanzanian Investment Center, can be very helpful in that, because they'll walk you through the various ministries and various local authorities that you need to negotiate with in order to secure a site, a building, and permission to operate. So I think those things are important, and just another way to demonstrate how flexible and how interested Tanzania is in input and help from overseas. When Ambassador Mulamula was senior foreign policy advisor to President Kikwete, I called her on behalf of the president of the University of St. Thomas to see if it was possible to have a courtesy visit for a master's class that was going to be looking at urban development in Tanzania, among other things. The same for the Humphrey Institute later. And when I called her and asked if we could have a high-level personality visit with a class to talk about these issues, she did one better. She made the president of Tanzania, Kikwete at the time, available, and he spent not just 10 minutes on the courtesy shake and bake visit with the master's class and the professor. He spent 2 hours with them and delayed his departure to an official visit to Botswana to accommodate them, which is simply remarkable. And you also should keep in mind the tremendous resource that the American Embassy can be, and Ken Walsh did a great job of spelling that out. The embassy has been blessed with some very thoughtful leadership over the years. Ambassador Donald Wright has been very helpful. I needed some emergency documents for high-ranking Tanzanian during the days when dissidents were not tolerated, and we were able to get the gentleman out of the country on 5 hours' notice. So the embassy is very, very flexible in that way, but they're also incredibly helpful when you're looking to establish your business, because there's no sense in reinventing the wheel. The educational sector, as Dr. McDonald mentioned, very, very important to Tanzania because the population is growing so rapidly that it's hard to accommodate the needs for student capacity or capacity for learning. I've been heavily involved with Karuku, the Karagwe University College, which opened up a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, actually, because of COVID. I'm losing track of time. A very large 1,000-acre campus for agricultural studies and related studies in the Kagera region on the west side of Lake Victoria. Very, very important institution there. And I've also been involved with a number of medical institutions, from Dodoma Christian Medical Center, Selian Hospital, Arusha Lutheran Medical Center, and of course Kilimanjaro Christian Medical Center as well. All of those are very important hubs for those who have an interest in exploring the market for medical devices in Tanzania. And we have plugged in a number of companies into working with those for adapting services to the Tanzanian market. And I think I will let it go at that. I've lost the picture here, so I don't know if you're hearing all of this, but
yes, totally. Excellent. Thank you so much, and thank you for your service as Honorary Consul. Thank you for doing things like bringing that national diaspora meeting and connecting, but also just inspiring us today with, this is hard work sometimes, but it's important work. It sometimes has bumps in the road, but we keep going. It's like all of life's challenges. And I think that you've given our viewers from today a place to say in reference, there's no reason we're underperforming in Tanzania. We should be finding and pursuing those opportunities for two-way trade, for exchange, for visiting, all of these things. So, Kjell, you've been a community leader on many, many things, many different aspects, but I want to really underline how important the groundbreaking you've done is to have the blossoming that Minnesota Africans United is helping bring to this relationship going forward. And we will have more of these webinars and some trade missions, but I want to stay in close touch with you and help make sure that successive generations of business people and leaders on both sides know about how the story progressed, because people like yourself gave of their time, their energy, their experience, and made it happen. So thank you again for joining us today. And I want to turn this back over to Basil, our leader, Minnesota Africans United's executive director, who will give our viewers some information about the upcoming webinars, upcoming trade missions, and about other opportunities via Minnesota African United. Thank you again to all who presented with us today, and take it away, Basil.
Thank you so much, Mark, and thank you, everyone, the ministers in Tanzania, Dr. Barbara, Ken, Bergh, Matt, Christina, and all the participants that have been able to be here this morning to listen to our event. Our next webinar will be focused on Kenya, and that will be on June 24th. We are planning a trade mission to July, starting on trade mission to Ghana, starting on July 5th to July 15th. And we will focus in all the sectors that people are interested in being part of trade and business development in Ghana. From there, we are heading over to Cameroon. And from Cameroon, that trade mission will be on the July 9th to the 14th. And we are already planning another new trade mission to Tanzania and Kenya If you're interested to be part of this trade mission, please visit our website at www.minnesotaafricansunited.org and sign up as we get the list gets filled out fully and completely, and a lot of people are looking at this opportunity that I don't see. If you can, if you want to engage, this is the right moment. Our closing date will be by the end of June for the trade mission to Tanzania. So let us know if you are interested. Our registration fee for the trade mission is $300, and we will give you the chance to have one-on-one meetings. You'll be part of the expo that we have. You'll be part of the conference that you have. You'll be able to promote your product. You'll be able to meet leaders. You'll be able to meet buyers. You'll be able to connect and explore all kinds of opportunities that are out there in the continent, and much more, and also benefit from all the touristic attraction that Africa also has to offer. The secret of actually doing trade with Africa is actually connecting with the African diaspora. And we're here as a membership organization to all these African diaspora businesses. Use these connections through your connections and relationships with this African diaspora community in Minnesota to build relationship with businesses on the ground, build relationship with their government in order for you to learn and understand their culture and have a successful meeting. It's time for me now to go, and I will ask our IT person to play us our last video and give you a rundown of all our flyers and our next event. And we will now end here and thank you and thank everyone for being part of this today. Thank you so much.
My name is Temigiwa Toboso. I'm the founder and CEO of LifeBank. LifeBank is a supply chain company operating in 3 countries in Africa. We deliver critical resources, critical commodities like blood, oxygen, vaccines, the works, to busy hospitals in emerging markets. We're raising a round that would allow us to expand our business even more, expand what we're currently doing, and by being listed at the Prosper Africa deal room, we think that we'll have a capacity to meet the right investor. I like to think of myself as having this dual, place in the world. I'm Nigerian, basically African and American, and I think for me, what I see is opportunity to drive impact in people's lives on the continent, the opportunity to invest and actually have returns. Right? I think for me, what is really incredible about operating in Africa is that, it's like greenfield, right? There's so many opportunities here on the continent to do 2 critical things. For me, it is impact, actually having impact on human life, impact that you can count, that you can see. And more importantly, and maybe equally important, is getting that return. And the size of the continent makes this actually possible.